Brother, you are going to be very happy you clicked on this video. And I've called it one mistake, but actually if I think about it, if you haven't been doing what I'm about to tell you in this video and then you start doing it, I don't think you're going to get 50% more gains. I think it's going to be like closer towards 70 and 80% because there's actually, I've called it one mistake. I'm going to categorize 3 real big like long levers that are going to drastically help your gains. Like, if you haven't been doing what I'm about to show you in this video and then you start doing it, you will get newbie gains again because I did and it's fucking beautiful. So I should have made this video sooner. That's my only regret right now. So one thing I'll say is if you go into the gym and just watch the gym floor for 5 minutes, just look around at people, how they train, nearly all of them are only going to get half the gains at best that they could do. So we understand that the vast majority of people in there don't train properly. And that's okay, because unless you're going to sit down and watch this educational video and really go into the weeds of it, just going to the gym initially is good. I'm happy that people just go into the gym initially and just moving tin about. But when you go in and you first start and you're all new and you're like, you just try and push shit and it feels hard and heavy, and that's enough. And that's enough to start making progress on. But there's a lot being left on the table. Let me just show you how a lot of people are lifting reps. And the form on this probably isn't even that bad, but let me just show you why gains aren't being made. So this is how most people are lifting, okay? Not horrendous by any means. But I want you to watch this video. I'm going to show you 2 other clips, and then we're going to pull them apart and work out what's wrong with them and how can we make things better. Okay, so that's a pull-in one. Let's go for a press. Okay, we've seen that one. And the last one we're going to watch, everyone's fucking favourite, the lateral raise. Oh, the star jump. Whatever you want to call it. Okay, so not horrendous. If you saw people doing that in the gym, you might not even batter an eyelid. But let me tell you, there are 3 things here that we can pull apart, make better, and allow you to literally get like 70% more gains. This should excite you. This should really, really excite you that we're going to go through some stuff that's going to be literally groundbreaking. Literally groundbreaking. It's very, very exciting stuff. So the first one we will go into. So there are 3 elements to the repetition. We've got tempo, range of motion, and intensity. I'm going to break each one down. We're going to go through the importance of it now. So when we discuss tempo, this is referring to the speed in which the reps are performed. And this is also known as like the time under tension. Now, when is it not smart to do time under tension? When you're powerlifting or your goal is just overall strength, move that load from A to B as efficiently as possible. And like, if you needed to drag a car down the road because it's fucking stopped working or something, you don't want to lift it with tempo, time and attention. You actually would want to lift it in the most efficient manner as possible to conserve the least amount of energy. You'd want to group together as many muscles as possible. And this is why back squatting and deadlifting are very good exercises. And I used to powerlift myself. You may have seen videos of me throwing some decent tin about. But for building specific muscle groups and an aesthetic physique, and that's pretty much what we're doing on this channel, they don't serve us that well because to lift them in a hypertrophy manner is not the smartest way to go. So tempo breaks down into 4 numbers. We've got the first and probably one of the most important numbers here. This is going to be, across all lifts, a 3 second. So on all lifts, we're looking for 3 seconds on the way down of every exercise you ever do. From this point forward, we can agree now, it's going to take you 3 seconds to get from the top of that dumbbell chest press down towards the bottom. You're just going to count in your head. And it's not 3, 2, 1. It's smooth. It just looks controlled. It won't actually look like your fucking granddad's lifting weights really slow. It won't look like that. You're just in control. Because you need to picture the 3 is the eccentric portion, okay? But with the eccentric portion, all you'll really think about doing is pulling or the term we would use is we're lengthening the muscle fibers. But I want you to imagine every time you do an exercise, you're pulling your fibers apart and you're using the load to do so. I know we're going nitty gritty and you're not going to think like that in each and every exercise, but I just want you to imagine this is the goal of the initial portion of the rep, to pull the fibers apart. Then the next phase of the movement will be an isometric. Now this is going to be a 1 second. Let me just separate these two. Why is there a 1 second here? You'll notice on the reps we had previous, it was down, up, down, up, down, up. Why do we want a 1 second there? Well, on exercises, especially like a dumbbell or a barbell, they are harder at the bottom in the lengthened position. Why are they like that? Because the joints are furthest away from each other, the moment arms are greatest, so it's the muscles that will need to hold them in place. So it makes sense to spend a good second in the lengthened position where there is gains to be fucking harnessed, as opposed to rushing that process. Because you've got to go there anyway. Like, if you're doing your reps in the gym, you've got to go from the top to the bottom and back to the top again. Obviously, the goal is not to lift from A to B. The goal is to stretch and shorten the muscle. But you've got to do it anyway, whether you listen to this advice or don't. So you may as well slow this portion down, cash in the gains, pause here, cash in the gains, and then go from there. Now, as well, the pause here separates the downward and the upward phase of the movement, which is very critical, because remember, we know we want to lengthen the muscle, pause, and then drive it back together. So very, very important, this place here. The next number is the time it takes to contract the muscle. Now, this is the one that everyone is familiar with. This is the focus of most people, because they go down and then drive, and then they go down and drive. And this is the hardest part of the rep, no doubt. Absolutely, this is the hardest part of the rep. You are now shortening the muscle back together. And just for context, a muscle is weakest when it's in that shortened, contracted position. That's why when you do a leg extension, it fucking toasts so fast. Or when you do a dumbbell lateral raise, at the top it's just nails, because you are weakest in that short position. Not to get too sciencey, but also the resistance curve of both of those exercises is actually harder in the shortened position as well. Now, I've put a 2 here, and this will be dependent on the exercise. When would it be smart to spend 2 seconds contracting? On exercises where the tension or resistance doesn't drop off towards the top. We're thinking anything that is cabled, because cabled can keep its tension all the way to the top. Or think like a pec deck machine. As you contract, it's still hard, isn't it? It's still hard all the way to the top. On a dumbbell exercise, when you get past the 90 and you're here, not really that much resistance. So one thing I would say is, in the concentric phase, of your isolation exercises, make them a 2. Of your compound exercises, as a rule of thumb, make them a 1. And the reason being, for the compound exercise, you are fucking driving a lot of load back up through the movement. So 1 on a compound, 2 on an isolation. And then the last number we have here is the time spent in the shortened position. Now, as we just spoke about, when would it make sense to spend time in the shortened position? On exercises where it is actually difficult or harder in the shortened position. Dumbbell lateral raise, in fact any form of lateral raise, because you're weakest towards the top. Any form of leg extension, because again, harder towards the top. The pec deck machine, while there's still tension, again, spend that 2 seconds there. There's still tension there, where you're going to need like cables, and certain style of machines are like that. Like, I could show you a quick video now. You'll have machines like this, and see here, where this is hard still in the shortened position, because the way it's set up, where the plates are, they're high versus the floor, the gravity distance, your muscles are what's holding them in position. So that's when it would also make sense to pause for a good 2 seconds in that shortened position. So this is the new level of gains we're getting. Now, for easy numbers, let's count this up. In an isolation exercise, you're going to get 3, 4, 6, 8 seconds a rep times 10, 80 seconds of time under tension, versus 1, none, 2, 1, 4, double the amount of time under tension. Very, very important. Obviously, in a compound, you've got 6 seconds where it would probably have been a 2 or a 3 at best, depends on how heavy it was going back in that concentric phase. So we can see there's a lot more gains to be had. Now what that looks like in real time, I'll just show you a quick exercise. Okay, so comes down 3 seconds, and that's what the 3 seconds looks like. It's just nice and steady, down, 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 pause in the lengthen, drive, and just separate the two. Just think, I'm going to come down. Don't overthink this, by the way. Don't fucking overthink it. Just think, I'm going to come down under control, I'm going to separate the two, and I'm going to drive together. On exercises where it's harder still at the top, this isn't really, because if you look, when I press, my arms are straight, and my joints are basically stacked. Nearly. So there's not actually that much tension towards the top. There is still some, of course, because also the way the mechanism of this machine is set up, where the distance of the load is versus their like moment of, let's not get into that, but there's still a bit of tension at this anyway. But on exercises where it's hard at the top, just spend that extra second. On the way down, just think, I'm going to smoothly control it, and that should be about 3 seconds. Just think smooth, and then just separate the two portions of the movement up and down at the bottom phase of the rep. Don't overthink this too much. Like, I don't want you going in trying to count 8 seconds plus the rep you're doing, plus trying to apply intensity and everything else because your head will fall off. I don't want you to do that, but the principle stands. I wanted to give you the exact numbers, and then how do we actually translate that onto the gym floor? Smooth, pause, separate, fucking send it on the concentric phase, and then if there is tension at the top, just actively think, I want to spend another second here where it's fucking tough, and you'll know it's tough because you'll be able to feel it. So that is tempo. That is tempo. When you start applying tempo, you will see a beautiful amount of gains. The next thing we need to look at is range of motion. This is, and what this would, so where this equates to time and attention, this one equates to distance traveled. If you only go, picture now a bicep curl, if you only go halfway down on the bicep curl versus the guy that's always going all the way down, if you run the program for 10 weeks, who's going to have more gains? The guy that essentially has gone further down. So now that sounds obvious, but what we actually need to perfect, and this could be another subheading, is arm path and technique. And I'm going to show you an example now. Okay, this is going to be good to show you. Now, we have two guys, Guy A, Guy B. They are both sat on a seated cable row machine. I was going to find you videos, but I'm going to draw it out because my drawings are fucking amazing. No, I'm only joking, they're absolutely awful and I need to get better. So, now, picture Guy A. Now, how many times have you heard people say, wide grip train makes your back wider, or some bullshit like that? Like they'll either do really wide grip pull-ups, or they'll do really wide grip row, and they'll think it'll give them a wide back. It won't. Do you know why it won't? Because if you have your arms really far out in front, in fact, let's get out the drawing. If you have your arms really out wide, okay, so let's say you're holding the bar like this, and this. These are your arms, this is the bar. You're on a row. When you pull back, when you pull your elbow back, it's going to go maybe to here, if we're being generous. Now, we know that to train the muscle, we want to stretch it as far as possible and shorten it as much as possible. Let's picture this guy now. He goes for a more neutral shoulder width grip on his bar. Okay, now as he drives his elbows back, he can go to here and to here. You would agree if your arms, I mean, if you sit and do this now, if your arms are closer, you can pull them back further. Your arms are out here, you can only get them to that, feel that tightness, versus to here, you can get them a lot back further. So then it begs the question, why would you go wider grip when you can go narrower grip and you can get into further shoulder extension, which means you can contract the muscle further? Range of motion, distance traveled, more gains. So what you need to do, and why I'm going with this point is, on any form of exercise you do, your structure needs to be the way you lift. Don't think wide grip, think what is my shoulder width, then find the tool, the handle that you're going to row with that matches up with your arm width. And there will be some if you train at a half decent gym. Or if you train with a straight bar, just bring your arms in a little bit. So what that is going to do is it's going to allow you to drive your arms back further. The same goes on any form of pressing machine. Any form of dumbbell press, any form of shoulder press. If you were to bring your elbows in at 45 degrees versus have them all the way flared out wide at right angle, even if you did it now, if you went from the top down 45 degree, with your arms out, right angle, pull all the way down as far as you can. You will only get so far. Tuck your elbows in at 45, I guarantee you can get a lot deeper. So it's just as simple as perfecting the arm path, bringing it closer in towards the body, towards your structure, and you will essentially be able to lift the load for a hell of a lot more distance, therefore put more tension and stress on the muscle, therefore make more gains. So going wide is not going to give you wider gains. In fact, going narrower will actually give you more. The goal is to move it through a full range of motion. The goal is not to stand really wide. That's like saying, I'll back squat and I'll put my legs as far out as I possibly can. Because all that happens is you just can't move as far. If you can't move as far, you just don't tear the muscle as far. That's just as simple as it works. So I hope that has busted that myth right open for you. And then the last one is intensity. Of course, we have to train with intensity. Now, I do believe to train to intensity is actually a skill. Because you need to think, okay, I'm going to push through pain now and I'm going to continue to send it. But to do that and do it properly, you need to get your breathing right. You still need to make sure the arms and the technique are in a very good position. You have to get those right first, get the tempo, get the range of motion right first, continue with the arm path. And then when you get towards those last few reps, then you need to take yourself to a dark place. But it takes a lot out of you. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of mentally it's quite taxing. That's why having a training partner is really, really fucking good. But this is a skill you need to practice. You need to think, could I have taken it any further? Did my last rep look like this? Grind, 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 grind. Because that's what's going to give you the cutting edge. If you can send it like that on a set, you will make gains. Fact. But you need to get the first two right. You need to make sure the tempo is spot on. And then also the range of motion relative to the arm path has been nailed. And then you send it with intensity. Now, what inspired me to make this video is this is literally what I do day in, day out. The boys in my guerrilla platoon that I coach and get the results with, they send me their form clips on WhatsApp, either with their check-in or like a few times a week. And we'll just pull a balloon video. We perfect their arm path. Obviously on WhatsApp, you can draw like arrows and shit on there, which is really cool. And that's what we do. We perfect how they're lifting each and every rep. Because what they're doing versus what I know in here needs to be transcended. What I know needs to go onto the gym floor. Because let me tell you now, if you're currently in a gaining phase and you want to build muscle and you're adding more food and you're not seeing the scale weight shift, if you're not training with these things in mind, you're still going to look like shit. Because you're shuttling more nutrients, more food, but you're not actually using it. Do you know when you would need more food? If your last sets looked like that, if you were fucking sending it, the body would be like, listen, motherfucker, you are burning through fuel. We need more or we ain't growing for you. That's when you need more food. But if you aren't training like that, you're just going to get fat. Like, to be honest, you are literally just going to get fat. It sounds smart to bulk, and it is. Absolutely, you need to be in a surplus. But if you're not training with these three things in mind, you're going to get fat. Your physique's still going to look like shit. I know, because I trained for probably 5-6 years. And my physique didn't look that good because I was not applying any of this. When I did, things started to happen. They started to change. So honestly, double down on this. Perfect your craft in the gym. And you will honestly reap the rewards. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, hit the subscribe. And also follow me on Instagram where you put out like more little shit like this. And you can see a bit more like my philosophies behind why things are the way they are. So yeah, I hope you found this useful. And I'll see you tomorrow.